here in defiance of tyranny. You've come to fight as free men. And free men you are. What will you do without freedom? Will you fight? Fight against that? No! We will run! And we will live. Aye. Fight and you may die. Run and you'll live. At least a while. And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?
You ready? Let's go. Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, yo. This is 10% luck.
And welcome to Anti-Tyranny News Radio here on UCY.TV. Thank you for joining me this lovely Friday evening. Well, maybe not so lovely, but at least the snow's melting, so I'm a little bit happy for that. Can't wait for fishing. Something that I take a passion in. Right now, today is March 14th. Bitcoin is trading at around 625 in US dollars. So basically holding pretty steady path. It spiked up a little bit there for a little bit, but which was only about 630, and it's been keeping pretty level, and this is probably the calmest Bitcoin's been since Mount Gox and some of the other ones that seem to have been inflating the value of Bitcoin. It seems that since they're out of the game, it seems to have calmed down a lot. Again, your choice. It is a virtual currency, and it's your choice to participate. I was searching all the websites that I usually do, and came across one on Ben Swan. Mark Zuckerberg calls Obama to say how mad he is about NSA spying, and I think it's kind of funny. I think Facebook has shown how they will censor people. And it's happened to me, and it's a bug. It's a bug that's causing it when it'll happen to only a certain group of people. It's happened to the Ron Paul supporters, and it's also happened to all the other Tea Partyists that, started going out there, and, all conservatives, have had quite a bit of, pushback, showing maybe Zuckerberg's lean towards, Democratic side, which either side's corrupt. So, it says here, on the heels of the revelation that the NSA impersonated Facebook to infect millions of computers, Facebook founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg posted a message on Facebook that he called President Obama to express how mad he is about NSA spying. Here is a message Zuckerberg posted. As the world becomes more complex and governments everywhere struggle, trust in the internet is more important today than ever. The internet is our shared space. It helps us connect. It spreads opportunity. It enables us to learn. It gives us a voice. It makes us stronger and safer together. To keep the internet strong, we need to keep it secure. That's why at Facebook we spent a lot of our energy making our service and the whole internet safer and more secure. We encrypt communications. We use secure protocols for traffic. We encourage people to use multiple factors for authentication. And we go out of our way to help fix issues we find in other people's services. The internet works because most people and companies do the same. We work together and create the secure environment and make our shared space even better for the world. This is why I've been confused and frustrated by the repeated reports of the behavior of the U.S. government. When our engineers work tirelessly to improve security, we imagine we're protecting you against criminals, not our own government. The U.S. government should be the champion for the internet, not a threat. We need to be much more transparent about what we're doing, or otherwise people will believe the worst. Which, that right there kind of seems like an indicator, like, well, we shouldn't be able to have privacy on the internet. Make it more open that way. They don't have to spy on you. Everything's open. That's just how it comes off to me. But, it says here, I've called President Obama to express my frustration over the damage the government is creating for all of our future. Unfortunately, it seems like it will take a very long time for true full reform. So it's up to us, all of us, to build the internet we want. Together we can build a space that is greater and more important part of the world than anything we have today, but is also safe and secure. I'm committed to seeing this happen, and you can count on Facebook to do our part. So, we'll see what comes out of this. I don't know if, what this could actually, be a good thing or a bad thing. It really could go either way. If you want to call in 718-717-8296, feel free to call in if you want to comment on this. He could truly be sincere and, want to create like a, new type of internet that is harder to be spied upon, but then, that one sentence there, kind of confuses me about that whole, possibility. It makes me wonder if he's just trying to get people to go on board with what he wants to create and basically make it where, anything you do, if you're searching for, if you feel sick or something, everything you search for, will be shown. Well, some people might be sick and not want what their conditions are, put out there, but, it's one of those things that privacy might be a good thing because there might be something that's embarrassing to someone that they keep private. I might have this condition. I'm not just wide open about it because it's embarrassing. And I've known people that had their conditions and they were embarrassed about it. They let me in on it because I was a close friend, but, it was things they were embarrassed about, and it wasn't really, I don't think, anything they should have been embarrassed about and couldn't help it. But, it's one of those things. They had the right to keep that, private, and that's fine. So, you have to go to a point where you can say, people can have their privacy, and it's not what they think about, in their private life, and it's not about what their ideology is in their private life or in their public life. It's about the actions, they present. And when you look at it that way, you're like, well, then people can have their privacy. a lot of people talk out about the Bohemian Grove, which I think is a pretty evil, institute, and I understand why they're pointing it out, because it is where a lot of the world elite, meet a lot of the people that are committing these crimes in governments. But it's the actions that they're doing. It's not that they meet there and come up with the actions. It's that they actually commit these actions that need to be addressed. There's, Tea Party groups or, libertarian groups or, Free State Project. There's, other groups, they have private meetings. Every, group has private meetings. Businesses have private meetings. There's a reason for privacy, and it's protected in the Constitution, but beyond that, it's just a natural right that people can't invade into your privacy. And that's where the understanding needs to come from. So it becomes one of those things that if you look at it, well, if everything you do on the internet, which is a main source for maybe what people watch, what they look up, if they're feeling sick or they're banking, it really truly needs to be secure. So, you could take from it what you feel like, but it's fine. If you want to be completely transparent about your life, that's your right. And there's quite a bit of people that are, very open about their life. They pretty much share, their life. And, a lot of them, I know from the community that, is surrounding this movement, which a lot of us have different, takes on our personal beliefs and ideologies, but, we have one thing in common, that we want to see a free society, and that's what we're willing to work towards. People have different ways about getting to that point, but we all have an understanding that that's the direction that we must head from this point. So, let me bring up some more articles I have up here. Or actually, while I'm on, the whole Ben Swan thing, I was going to bring this up, later, but since I have it up right here anyways, I'll just go ahead and do this. Does Crimea have the right to succession from Ukraine? And, I've been seeing this going across in, U.S. media playing Russian media about, do they have the right to succeed? And, my personal opinion, I think anybody should have, the right, but of course, the ones with the more guns usually win, but anybody should have the right to succeed, because basically you should be able to govern yourself. No rulers, just, the common sense rules, natural law. And, there's a big difference between natural law and man-made laws. It's something that more people need to have a better understanding of. Definitely when they talk about people need to uphold the law, and no matter what the law says, and well, man-made laws or natural law. I think there's a big difference there that needs to be addressed when people make comments like that. But let's go ahead and bring this up here.
Should Crimea have the right to split from Ukraine? Depends on who you ask. I'm Ben Swan with your Truth in Media moment. Thanks so much for watching. In less than 1 week, Crimea will hold a referendum on the issue of secession with Ukraine. In short, the region, which is significantly of Russian heritage and largely Russian-speaking, will decide if they will split from the nation and potentially if they will seek reaccession into the Russian Federation. Now, this vote has renewed a fascinating international debate. The big question, though, whether or not groups of people, regions, nations have a right to self-rule under so-called international law. Now, what is most interesting, regardless of which side you find yourself on, supporting either the Western position that Crimea can't just leave Ukraine, or the Russian position that they have every right to leave Ukraine, both sides are guilty of hypocrisy in their stances. So does Crimea have the right to leave Ukraine and rejoin the Russian Federation? That's the big question, right? Well, the West, meaning the United States, NATO, the EU, they've all decided in this case Crimea's self-rule is not in their interest. They've taken the position that self-rule is a violation of international law and that secession votes are only allowed if Crimea is given permission to leave by the region it's trying to leave from. Historically, that's a very hypocritical stance. From America's own war of secession against a very unwilling Britain, which led to violent revolution for independence, to the 1999 secession of Kosovo from Serbia, Western nations have loudly backed the idea of regions breaking away. On the flip side, Russia opposed the Kosovar independence. But in this case, President Putin argues that Crimea's referendum is fully in keeping with international norms. The reality is Putin is not incorrect, but what is considered normal and appropriate process actually comes down to which side benefits the gains from secession. In Crimea, both Russia and the West are playing the same game. Trying to decide whether or not Crimea has the right of self-rule comes back to their own self-interest. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out all of our Truth in Media videos online. You can find me online at benswan.com, where humanity is greater than politics.
Yeah, a little hypocritical. Just a little bit, kind of, doesn't make sense. Well, the country you want to leave from has to give you permission to leave from it before you can do it and vote on it. Really? Okay, so if I'm under an oppressive government that is killing off my people, I have to ask their permission to leave before our region can vote on it. Well, why would that be something the EU and United Nations would want to push? Maybe because the EU took control over multiple countries and has made a unelected government that's in control. They wouldn't want countries to leave the EU without the EU giving them permission. And other governments, they wouldn't want regions of their countries to learn about, hey, you could vote on leaving. They kind of have the same ideology about, we don't want to destroy the Union. They don't ever look at, maybe your policies are what are destroying the Union. Maybe you're playing people against each other. Maybe that could be it. Maybe we could be supporting people that go, we can't have diversity. It's either this way or that way. Freedom for either this class or this class. Never freedom for everybody. Let people live their lives without abridging the rights of others, without stealing from people, without murdering people, and that being offensive actions. Defensive actions if you're defending yourself or your property or, family members, neighbors, If you're defending someone, that's not a crime. But to offend people, and that I'm talking physically, where you assault them, that's not right, and that would be the crime. And, a lot of people have to understand the difference between assaulting people and defending yourself. And I don't believe defensive actions are violent actions. They're actions against a violent action, therefore they can't be a violent one themselves. People go, violence doesn't solve violence. And it's like, it wasn't a violent action. It was a defensive action. It was an action in fear of your life or being hurt by someone. When you didn't swing at them, they come up and assaulted you. You know, if you look at it, even nowadays, you know, you helping someone is a, you know, criminal action. Well, that's man-made laws. You give someone, a homeless person, food in the wrong place. You've committed a crime. Well, it breaks man-made law, but it doesn't break natural law. Natural law would say you giving someone is your right to give them your own, you know, personal property, whether it be a cheeseburger, money, or whatever. That's your ability to do that. And natural law also says other people don't have the right to come in and take a portion of that from you for that exchange. But man-made law says, oh yes, they can. Countries don't want succession to be something that can be considered. Therefore, making a ruling like, well, that country would have to give you permission to succeed. Then you can vote on it. A pretty idiotic one. And it really shows the mindset of these people. And it kind of just, it blows my mind what they'll say, thinking, hey, you're too dumb to realize what we're saying. We can say it in such a way that, oh, you just won't understand. And there is a, you know, section of the populace out there that doesn't understand. And those are some things that need to really be addressed more. Okay. Speed Trap City threatened with extinction. Coming from Next News Network, and I was wanting to check this out and I didn't get time. So here we go.
Audit of Hampton's books released last month found 31 instances in which local, state, or federal laws were violated. It is now considered to be one of the dirtiest cities in the country and could end up disappearing altogether. Residents claim a 1,260-foot stretch is one of the nation's most notorious speed traps and that the ticket money has corrupted Hampton. Watchdog organizations say there has clearly been a misuse of public funds and lack of oversight. A criminal investigation has searched Hampton City Hall, with the door of the police chief's office being removed from its hinges. One lawmaker has suggested money up to $1 million could have gone missing. The city awaits its fate.
The sentencing of Tyler Hadley is to continue today. He is accused of killing his parents in 2011 with a hammer when he was 17 years old. Last month, Hadley changed his plea to no contest in the death of his parents, Blake and Mary Jo. Prosecutors say after killing his parents, Hadley then threw a party at their house with their bodies in a back bedroom. The Port St. Lucia man, who is expected to get life in prison, is waiting to see if he will be eligible for parole. Because Hadley was not an adult when the killings took place, he cannot be sentenced to death.
Police say there were dozens of arrests at an annual event on Peanut Island that has sent more than a dozen people to the hospital. The yearly celebration called Floatopia draws hundreds of boats and thousands of people to an afternoon of drinking, enjoying the weather, and music. Fire rescue officials had to end the party early after 16 people ended up on stretchers and were sent to the hospital. They say that the majority had either gotten into fights or had too much to drink. Some had fractured bones and others were struggling to maintain consciousness, but none had life-threatening injuries.
And that's all I'm going to play from Next News Network. But, Speed Trap City threatened with extinction. It's like when you look at Detroit and you look at a lot of other places, you create such a situation that, well, no one wants to go there. So, now all the companies have shut down and moved out, and you start having only the impoverished people still there, not able to leave, so they're basically stuck there. And you have a situation where the town or city rots. And it doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't. There's a lot of places that companies have suffered because they just happen to be right by where one cop decides, hey, this is perfect place for me to sit all the time and get people coming off the highway or other things. There's other places I've seen. But, yeah, just coming off the highway, oh, you didn't slow down enough. Yep, I'm busting you. And companies have actually built businesses, built a whole building, and went out of business because traffic avoids that area. You would think, hey, this should be a high traffic area. There's few housing additions, there's a school. Why don't I get that much? Oh, because a lot of the traffic will avoid this area unless they have to be there. So some of the companies were basically a summer type, business. Most of their business would be during the summer. Well, school's not in. So that cut back on traffic. Other roads were widened. That cut back on traffic. Within months they were closed. And all because of a speed trap. People knew it and they just avoided it. And now it's not a speed trap. In cities that rely heavily on speed traps and quotas for revenue, oh yeah, that will start threatening their ability to operate. Anything that requires force and taxation will be the demise of a city and also a nation and debt. Indiana's not doing too bad, but most of the nation is. Most of the nation's having a lot of issues. A lot of states are having a lot of issues. And you have to really look at the facts. What is taxation? Taxation is theft. And I really wish we could get more people, hey, let's, not pay our taxes. And a lot of problems with that is you'll get a lot of people that say, oh yeah, I'm down for that if we can get enough people, but they'll never do it. Never do it. They want to support it, but they'll never do it. And another thing is jury nullification. And I really think jury nullification is something that we really need to educate people, and definitely people, you're already in the system, you already have pretty good chance of, getting called up for jury duty. I think we need to educate those people considerably. And actually, I should play this video. I think I have it saved in my bookmarks. Talks about jury nullification. Let me see if I can find it. It's a pretty quick one. Yes, I do. It's titled "The Law You Won't Be Told." And it's from, let me see here. It's from CGP Gray on YouTube. And, I seen this, I had to bookmark it because it really does kind of explain jury nullification a different way than it's been explained by others. And there's some key points in here about, the understanding of if you know what jury nullification is, and, just think about that and listen to this.
You know your options, guilty or not. But there's another choice that neither the judge nor the lawyers will tell you, often because they're not allowed to, and also because it might be better if you don't know. This video will tell you that third choice, but be warned, simply watching may prevent you from ever serving on a jury. So this is your last chance to hit the pause button before you learn about jury nullification, when the defendant is 100% beyond a reasonable doubt guilty, but the jurors...
And again, if you don't want to understand this, don't watch it. But here we go.
also think he shouldn't be punished. The jury can nullify the law and let him go free. But before you're on your next jury and yell null booyah at the judge, you should know that just talking about jury nullification in the wrong circumstances can get you arrested. Though a video such as this one, simply acknowledging the existence of jury nullification and in no way advocating it, is totally okay. And while we're at it, CGP Grey is not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. This is meant for entertainment purposes only. Seriously, guy, don't do anything in a court of law based on what an internet video told you. No joke. So why can't you do this? It's because nullification isn't in the law, but exists as a logical consequence of two other laws. First, the juries can't be punished for a wrong decision, no matter what the witnesses, DNA evidence, or video proof show. That's the point of a jury, to be the final decider. And second, when a defendant is found not guilty, that defendant can't be tried again for the same crime. So there are only two stated options, guilty or not. It's just that jury nullification is when the words of the jurors don't match their thoughts, for which they can't be punished, and their not guilty decision can't be changed. These laws are necessary for juries to exist within a fair system, but the logical consequence is contentious. Lawyers and judges argue about jury nullification like physicists argue about quantum mechanics. Both are difficult to observe, and the interpretation of both has a huge philosophical ramification for the subject as a whole. Is jury nullification the righteous will of the people, or an anarchy of 12, or just how citizens judge their laws? The go-to example in favor of nullification is the fugitive slave law, when northern juries refuse to convict escaped slaves and set them free. Can't argue with that. The anarchy side is southern juries refusing to convict lynch mobs, not humanity at its best, but both of these are juries nullifying the law. And also, juries have two options for where their thoughts may differ from their words. Jury nullification usually refers to the non-guilty version, but juries can convict without evidence just as easily as they can acquit in spite of it. This is jury nullification too, and the jurors are protected by the first rule, though the second doesn't apply, and judges do have the power to overrule a guilty verdict if they think the jurors are in the best. And of course, a guilty defendant can appeal, at least for a little while, which makes the guilty form of jury nullification weaker than the not guilty kind. Cold comfort, though. Given the possibility of jurors who might ignore the law as written, it's not surprising when picking jurors for a trial, lawyers, whose existence is dependent on an orderly society, will ask about nullification usually in the slightly roundabout way. Do you have any beliefs that might prevent you from making a decision based strictly on the law? If, after learning about jury nullification, you think it's a good idea, answer yes and you'll be rejected, but answer no with the intent to get on the jury to nullify and you've just committed perjury, technically a federal crime, which makes the optimal strategy once on a jury to zip it. correct. But this introduces a problem for jurors who intend to nullify. Telling the other 11 angry men about your position is risky, which makes nullification as a tool for fixing unjust laws nationwide problematic. Not to mention about 95% of criminal charges in the United States never make it to trial and rather end in a plea bargain, but that's a story for another time. The only question about jury nullification that may matter in the end is if jurors should be told about it, and the courts are near universal in their decision, no way. Which, again, might seem self-interested. Courts do depend on the law, but there's evidence that telling jurors about nullification changes the way they vote by making evidence less relevant to them, which isn't surprising. That's what nullification is. But mock trials also show sympathetic defendants get more non-guilty verdicts and unsympathetic defendants get more guilty verdicts in front of jurors who were explicitly told about nullification compared to those who weren't. Which sounds bad, but it's also easy to imagine situations where jurors blindly following the law would be terribly unjust. In the end, righteous will of the people, or anarchy, or citizen lawmaking, the system leaves you to decide. But as long as courts are fair, they require these rules, so jury nullification will always be with us.
Okay. So, a quick little, introduction to jury nullification. And again, that was from CGP Gray. CGP Gray, on YouTube. And that one was titled The Law You Won't Be Told. And, I seen that and I had to bookmark it, but it's a pretty good, description on what jury nullification is. So that's one way that, I really think if the whole entire country was truly, knowledgeable on jury nullification, then you could say that. Is there anything that will keep you from being able to serve on this jury? No, because every other peer understands what jury nullification is. So, I think, letting people in on what jury nullification is, essential. And there's a lot of movements out there to, educate people on jury nullification. Looking at some other news, Malaysian plane was deliberately diverted coming from, Drudge Report, and that takes you to Reuters.com. It says exclusive radar data suggests missing Malaysia plane deliberately flown way off course, according to sources, which that's what a lot of people have been saying already. But it says here, military radar data suggests a Malaysia Airlines jetline missing for nearly a week was deliberately flown hundreds of miles off course, heightening suspicions of foul play among investigators. Sources told Reuters on Friday. Analysts of the Malaysia data suggest the plane, with 329 on board, diverted from its intended northeast route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing and flew west, instead using airline flight corridors normally employed for routes to the Middle East and Europe, said sources familiar with investigations into the Boeing 777's disappearance. Two sources said an unidentified aircraft that investigators believe was flight MH370 was following a route between navigational waypoints when it was last plotted on military radar off the country's northeast coast. This indicates that it was either being flown by the pilots or someone with knowledge of those waypoints, those sources said. They still don't know exactly where it went, where it's headed. There's a lot of speculation out there, but at least any evidence of exactly where it might be headed hasn't come out to the public yet. So, it's really still a mystery, and, of course it seems like there's foul play. They didn't find wreckage on its normal route, even if it turned around, and tried to head back, or, other friendly territory. They've not been able to find any wreckage. And with the new evidence out there, it definitely is showing some type of, something going on that's not normal. Some type of foul play. What exactly it is, whether it's, something to do with one of the pilots or a passenger that, hijacked, or who knows. The evidence really isn't pointing to anything conclusive, as the public knows at this point. So, not sure. It could be for hostage, or it could be for some type of attack. It's really hard to tell at this point. And, something that I tend to stay away from, there's people like Timothy Poole, which he works, with Vice now, but, he's someone that, he's hacked his Google glasses, and someone that, is into that type of technology. Something I personally would not really want to be playing around with. I don't want Google glasses. I think I want to get a sticker made, to put on, the no trespassing sign saying, Google glasses not permitted on, property. It's something I definitely don't want to be around. But coming out of, NBC Bay Area, I've seen a article, Vanity Fair report, Google Glass broke up founder, Sergey Brin's marriage. Says, while some call Vanity Fair's piece on a, married Google founder's romance with a much younger employee a trashy read, the report says that Google Glass was the catalyst of the breakup. Although the report is unclear about how or when the affair began, it does say that Google employee Amanda Rosenberg quickly moved up the ranks to Google Glass marketing manager, where she became the face of Google Glass, at media events and on social media. According to Vanity Fair, it was after that promotion that Brin and Rosenberg were reported to be an item last August, and that Brin had separated from his wife, Ann Wojcicki, I believe is what it is. Says Google Glass had always been Brin's baby, which he nursed from a 10-pound prototype at Google X, Google's semi-secret lab for special projects, to a sleeker version similar to the product today. As the project got closer to production, its team and Rosenberg were hired. Rosenberg even coined the term OK Glass to activate the wearable computer. She also worked with Brin's wife on the project and was considered a friend, according to the report. There's much more gossip, including how Rosenberg reportedly continued to date another Google employee at the time of her involvement with Brin. Rosenberg and Brin still reportedly work together at Google X, which also has caused some friction with employees, including causing founder Larry Page to quit speaking to him for a while. It also may open Brin up to legal troubles. While there's nothing unlawful about the consensual sexual affair with the company, things happen. David called Los Angeles labor and employee attorney told the San Jose. Goes on and doesn't really get into exactly how other than them working on Google Glass, it seems to be what broke Brin's marriage up. And I'm not surprised any mishaps might be going on over at Google with what they are progressing towards over at Google. Who they have bought, who they've involved themselves with, and what CEOs and founders of Google have talked about, what some of these Google X researchers have came up with and have talked about coming up with, where we're headed, or where Google's headed, and where society's headed too. It doesn't surprise me that really crooked things might go on over at Google, because I think a lot of the people that they can hire that have the knowledge to do this type of stuff, that are willing to do some of the stuff that just seems like it's really intrusive on people's privacy. Even when, yes, most people go, yes, I want to use Google. Don't understand how much privacy they're actually giving up if they're not careful. That's why I personally like startpage.com, and Anti-Tyranny has start page right there, on the home page, where you can search, Anti-Tyranny using that little search box, or you can search, start page too, so. It's something that is a little bit more secure, and it uses the benefits of Google when it does the searching. Except you don't get the full benefits because, well, when you're using that, it's not able to keep track of everything you search for, your whole internet history. Therefore, it's not, hey, and giving you your full name and your address and where you live and going, hey, we'll send this out to you right now. We can tell that you haven't ordered any recently, and you must be out of it. You haven't ordered it like normal. And some kind of funky stuff that they're coming up with out there. And I think people that have the knowledge and are willing to do stuff like that don't have high morals. Don't really have a sense of where this stuff can really take people. They can see the bright side of it. I think they have a lack of insight on where it can go wrong. Therefore, a lot of these things they would either put the measures in to really protect people's privacy, or they would abandon it until that possibility exists. That means that they would have to have groundbreaking abilities. Things that the government wish they could get their hands on for privacy. And I mean groundbreaking. I think when some of these companies, I doubt Google is, but maybe by what Mark Zuckerberg posted, maybe he truly is getting fed up with, even though, he's championed government basically with Facebook and censored, liberty lovers with Facebook, you can really see how maybe he could be getting upset and want to do something about it. But, I think the worse government gets, the more these companies will be like, okay, you know what? We were wrong. We have to fix this and come up with alternatives. But I think there's a lot of, IT knowledgeable people out there that are already working on that aren't a part of any big corporation, but they have the knowledge to build that type of technology. And I think there's some groundbreaking stuff that could come out of individuals in the private sector. That could be groundbreaking for people to share and communicate using the internet and other sources. And that's what we need, because the bigger these governments get, the more they're going to censor people. And I don't think it matters what party gets put in. You're going to have exactly the same thing. And I agree with Jesse Ventura on one thing, that if a third party actually came up, which I think it would actually only be, the second party, they would have to be as corrupt as the other parties to be able to compete. And I think really with the corruption in government, I think that rings true. Again, if you want to call in tonight, 718-717-8296, so feel free to call in. I had another clip I wanted to play for you here. Let me find it real quick. And this one was a pretty good one, and Jeffrey Tucker, who I've met and talked to and discussed quite a few things. When he was in Indianapolis, I went down there during the Midwest Liberty Summit and shared a few drinks and talked about some stuff. He's got some great insight, and I do need to get him on the broadcast. He told me anytime I want to come on, he would love to come on. So I've been so busy, I haven't really been lining up guests, but I do need to get that on the roll here and get some guests on the broadcast. But here's one, and it's posted on Stefan Molyneux's YouTube. And this one is titled Cancer, McDonald's and Justin Bieber. And Stefan Molyneux and Jeffrey Tucker sit down and have a little discussion on this. And where they went with this was pretty interesting, and we'll discuss some of it. I might either pause it in between or discuss it afterwards, but here we go.
Just hold it.
Yeah, no,
it's fine.
It's less awkward though.
And it's exactly how we should do it. Oh, man.
It works.
All right.
So how are you doing? Are you tired out? Or?
No, I'm good. I mean,
great.
Yeah, back to normal.
Since the
Other than this little vampire wound, I'm good.
Nothing, man.
Oh, makes me look tough.
Yeah, you look
for my days on the streets. My days in the hood, yeah. You should see the other virus. Anyway, but no, it's good.
That's the first time I've seen you since the Big Up people.
Yeah. Well, I finished treatments in September and was back to strength very quickly.
Anything about them that you shocked you, or
no, other than how easy they were.
Really?
Yeah, I think chemo's come a long way. Because the stories from our parents' generation were like, they bring you to death and then they come you back. For the most part, other than, I napped a little bit more. I was a bit tired, but it was not this, kind of thing, right? So, it was not bad at all.
Well, and to tell you the truth, I mean, this was potentially a life-threatening situation.
Oh, yeah. No, the statistics could have been bad. Yeah. I mean, a third of people don't make it a year. So it's because it's bloodborne, right? So it can go anywhere. It's not localized.
Now, when you were looking up statistics online, you're like, okay, where do I fall in this distribution curve? And it's a little strange, isn't it? Because you're an individual, your case is individual, and yet you feel.
I was absolutely certain it was not going to be fatal. I was absolutely. I never had any doubt. I mean, obviously, I was scared, right? Because I'm a sentient human being.
Now, do you think there's anything to the idea that attitude actually matters?
I think it helps.
Yeah.
I think it helps. I think that. If, as we talked about, if the horror then starts to take you over, and then you can't sleep, and then you can't eat, and then you just stress the whole time, then your body is going to have fewer resources to fight what it needs to fight. So I think, but I'm cautious about that, because some people have a great attitude and die anyway.
Of course.
So I never wanted to be like,
he had a bad attitude.
If he'd had a better attitude, he'd be with us right now.
Right, no,
so I think it helps. I don't think it's decisive, but I think it helps. And I think, but that was not how I was going to go. Like, it's for my own mind. Like, that just was not how I was going to go.
You look healthy and well on camera, but now seeing you in person, you look just amazing. I mean, your skin's very nice, and your eyes are blue and beautiful.
I was working out and back to my full workout schedule and all that. So, I'm a better person for it. It's not how you want to grow, but there is growth in it. Yeah. And I feel...
So is
more
it like
relaxed.
That situation where people they see the possibility of death and suddenly every day matters a little more than it did before? Or is it like that?
Worries don't really exist. Mm-hmm. Like this morning we were trying to get Mike and we think, what are we going to miss the speech and something like that? I didn't care. Look, I mean, I cared because, there were conference organizers and so on, but it just doesn't matter fundamentally.
Yeah.
And criticism doesn't matter. I mean, if it's useful, use it. It's not like I don't care about anything. My family matters, my friends matter, but, the negative detritus that floats by, it just doesn't matter.
In fact, I would say that since you've emerged out of this, your videos have become a little edgier.
Yeah.
Would you say?
I am really trying to work the language muscle to see what it can do.
Yeah.
Because I've always sort of felt like I have more imaginative, innovative ways to communicate, but I've always felt like I don't want to appear crazy.
Yeah, right.
But
I
look at someone like Robin Williams who can just riff and come up with the most astounding stuff off the top of his head.
Yeah.
And I would like to, and I've talked about this with Mike, I'd like to work more of startling and original forms of communication for what we're doing to help to break through. So I have really tried to let myself go a little bit more and be less self-censorious. And because there is that fear, like if I just say whatever's on my mind, I'm going to appear insane.
Yeah.
But I think I can trust that that's really not going to happen kind of thing. Or just like, he's gone off the deep end. I knew this would happen. I can't believe it took this long.
The whole world's falling apart.
Yeah.
Right.
So I definitely want to work more self-expression into what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, so that I don't feel like, that old thing, I just don't leave anything on the table, when you're playing your cards. So, I want everything to go on the table. Everything that I'm capable of doing as a communicator, I just want to have on the table without self-censorship, without fear of appearing this or appearing that, and so on, and not feeling like I have to manage the horse, but just, kick the heels and see where I can go. And I'm really, really trying to let that happen.
Would you say that's helped your business or your career or your
I think
presence
so.
in a way?
Yeah, I mean, Mike, what have we been doing for...
Tripled in the last year as far as downloads.
Yeah, so the downloads of the show have tripled in the last year.
Well, I know myself that, when my feed comes across with a new video of yours, I pretty much have to watch it.
Oh, thank you.
Even if you're saying, you end up saying absolutely nothing of any value whatsoever.
Which, 50-50. 50-50, It's a code. Every third word, if you take every third word, there's the most important thing in the universe is there. And it's also helped me to be more productively impatient.
Yeah.
Because growing up British, you got to be so polite all the time.
Yeah.
But now, you suffer fools less gladly when you realize, your time is not infinite. Because there's this weird time for me, like, between 30 and 50 men, we don't really change that much.
It's true.
There's nothing much, and then but for women, it's like, the fertility goes down, and boobs sag, and, this kind of stuff, right? But for men, I weigh the same, I kind of look the same. I look at pictures of myself when I'm 30, it's like, yeah, I still kind of look the same as that guy. So there's this weird 20-year no time span for men, and unless you get sick. And then you get, oh my God, I'm not in cryogenic freeze, I'm not in stasis, even though nothing's particularly changing, things are moving forward. And so I guess the one thing is that.
Now, I want to comment because I had an aunt that passed away a couple of years ago, and it was one of those things that she didn't really treat life any different than normally until she got sick and realized that, well, she there's so much more that she wanted to do, and she got that in. And from when she got diagnosed to when she passed away was about 6 years, and she battled it, and I have a very different probably outlook on cancer treatment than Stefan Molyneux, and people do make it through conventional treatments and fare off well, but I've also watched a lot of people suffer through conventional treatments and not make it. So their last years of life were not well off, and my aunt struggled to stay well off, and she had moments that allowed her to pursue things that she wanted to do, and thankful for that. And it's one of those things, a lot of people don't realize that just year from year, you just go on life, and you don't take enough time to look back, or you look back and you go, oh, I'm not too much different, life's not too much different, but you kind of fail to see the little things that have changed that are so much different. Looking back at 2001 and looking at cell phones that we had back then compared to what we have now. Doesn't seem that long ago, even 2003, 10 years ago. Doesn't seem that long ago. But look at where technology has gone. Sometimes we fail to explore and be adventurous with our lives, I think. And more people need to do that because, again, we fail to see how fast life is passing us by. And that's why I urge people to be more independent and try to work for themselves, seek out, creating their own, company or whatever. Seek your passion out and make a career out of it. And you can start small and do it part-time while you work, and through YouTube or other sources on the internet that you can do, and create your own website for whatever your passion is, and try to bring in extra revenue that way to be able to grow. And maybe you're in a band or something, maybe you get discovered. I urge people to follow their passion as much as possible and try to make that their career. But yeah, you might have to work for someone you don't really want to work for, to pay the bill and keep the roof over your head and keep food on your table. But the more independent you become by seeking out that path, the more abilities you have to grow independently. And I urge people to, try, and you're not going to get everything right. You're going to slip and fall, and that's a part of it, but you're happier. You slip and fall and you work for someone else and you mess something up and it comes out of your paycheck and you're not happy in the first place, don't think you get paid enough, not happy where you work at, a lot of that can be, solved by working for yourself. But, it is hard, and that's, why, that's why, I fight against all this red tape, regulation that always stops the little man. And, we need more of that, along with more people trying to, work through the, crap system that we have. And, that way you become one of those business owners that can try to make a influence on your community. Be a good, business, for your community, and then your influence within that community is going to be a lot better. And that's the same if you're like a independent contractor that does roofing or siding or handyman work or, landscaping, mowing people's yard. The more respectful, the more respect they have for you, the more influential you are towards that person. And you can really be positive that way. And if they see you working hard and being successful in what you do, or just plain working hard and, showing them respect and earning their respect, the more influential and sympathy that they'll have for you when they see government go, oh, now you need this permit and this permit and this and that. And, because the council passed this ordinance that you need all of this to be able to operate within our area. And, your customers might not be happy if you can't provide for them anymore because of stuff like that. And, that's one thing you have to look at. Okay, I'm going to play some more of this.
But yeah, so I feel much more relaxed, and, more conservative with my time. Which I think is a really good thing. And yeah, definitely there is that savor the little things a lot more, like your Big Mac story, which is going to have the vegans picketing your ass or something,
Yeah, but look,
come on, what's wrong with it?
And I'm always,
once in a while.
I know, and I'm always cautious because I don't want to whip up people into offensive. I'm telling you, that meal last night was unbelievable.
Well, it's engineered to be as tasty as humanly possible without actually killing you on the spot. Like 12 minutes later, you're toast. They basically, once the pay window is closed, you're on your own, but they need you to pay for the meal, and then,
You know what, I was like music driving on the road because I was starving, and there were the M's, that's it, and going through the drive-thru and just marveling at the speed, and it was $5, and then the aromatic, the smell out of the bag, and then putting the french fries in the mouth, and then the burger, and it was absolutely mind-blowing.
And McDonald's fries are amazing because I don't taste any potato anymore.
No.
All I get is salt and fat.
And you have every incentive to eat them as soon as possible because, you don't know.
Well, also if they go cold, you can't break them. They're salted at room temperature.
Right. The minutes are going to be something
they become
horrible.
Tiny javelins you can use to hunt hummingbirds in the back lot. That's about it. Tiny clubs you can give to the Ant-Men to take over the world.
I didn't tell this funny part of it. So I went up to the window, and I always sort of chat with these people anyway. But they have a new thing called the homestyle burger. Homestyle burger. And I said to the guy, I said, now listen, I've never seen this before. What was the story with that? He goes, wow, it's basically a quarter pound with salad on it.
With salad on it?
Yeah. Well, they put lettuce and tomato on it to make it like...
Oh,
the quarter
okay.
pounder doesn't, I think it has a little chopped honey on it.
Oh, yeah.
But there's no
it's the least possible vegetables you can put on it without putting no vegetables.
So the homestyle puts tons of vegetables on it.
Right.
And I said, would you recommend that? And he goes, I think I prefer the quarter pounders.
That's right. Wow.
So I went, so I'll do the quarter pounder. It was a funny exchange, It's like, it's a fast food place, but I like to talk to these people over the microphones as if they're the maitre d' of a fancy restaurant or something.
Could I get a booth for 6, please? Somewhere near the jazz band. That's nice.
But I've just never seen that on the menu before. It's just interesting. They're constantly adjusting. Say what you will about McDonald's. I mean, they love the consumers. I mean, they're desperately reinventing themselves all the time, and they're successfully so.
Yeah, well, they've lost, I think, 1 or 2 points of market share over the last year, so they're counting. Is that right? Yeah, they're being hit hard.
By whom?
I don't know. I don't know. I assume that there's just some prevalence of people trying to claw into that market.
Yeah.
And they have, of course, received a lot of negative press.
Yeah.
You know, the pink slime and the fear that it's not meat and all this kind of stuff.
I know, and I get overly emotional about this because the chicken wing nuggets are actually good chicken, and and there are real chickens out there, and people who raise those chickens, everybody's working hard, to make this good stuff for us.
It's like cheesecake. I mean, if you have a steady diet of cheesecake, you're going to get sick.
Did you know that happened to me one time?
You what now?
Did you know that actually happened to me?
That you had a steady diet of cheesecake?
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know the story? No. So I had a friend.
I want to mention about McDonald's. I do have a problem with GMOs. I do have a problem with pink slime. Even if people go through a hard time having it, I want something more real. So, I'm someone that personally likes things that don't have antibiotics, hormones, and GMO in it. I like more natural stuff. Even though I do splurge and get fast food every once in a while because, well, it's fast. My fridge, my cabinets, filled with good stuff. Farm all, organic type eggs that I get from a buddy. I buy seeds, and I have a friend that grows extremely large gardens, on his farm. So, I have fresh veggies, hunting. So I have fresh, wildlife. And, a lot of the feed that these wildlife get to eat is leftover stuff, from the gardens that doesn't get picked, and it's non-GMO. And they love going through that during the fall and just eating leftover, things that just, there was one year that there was so much acorn squash that we gave it to everyone we possibly could find. He went to a couple of bars with like a truck bed full of these acorn squash and was just giving them to everybody. I had acorn squash just everywhere in my house, and we still had more that just ended up rotting. So it's one of those things that if you plant a little bit too much, didn't realize how, many acorn squash we were getting. Like, I think 6 to 8 acorn squash per vine, which was kind of nuts. And there's some other things that we grew that it was just crazy. You couldn't get rid of this stuff. And there's a lot of other places we try to get rid of stuff that, we can't accept it. And it's like, really? But it's one of those things that if you try to eat healthy, there's times you can splurge, and just don't over splurge on anything that's unhealthy. That's usually where you run into the problems.
It was in the cheesecake business, and gosh, she didn't have any customers, so I decided to become one of her top customers. So I said I want a cheesecake every week. I remember. Well, I was
now like not a piece of cheesecake.
No,
like a full-on heart-busting wheel.
Right,
like mortality.
And
right.
I think I might have had it too many at the time. Like too many drinks or something when I ordered this in perpetuity. A cheesecake a week
until I'm dead.
Until I'm dead.
So it's 9 weeks. so that's a self-limiting contract right there.
It actually happened to me. The doorbell rings on Monday morning. Here's my cheesecake. Well, thanks. So,
and it's important that it comes in the morning.
Yeah, right.
Because you wouldn't want that as an afternoon
breakfast.
snack.
Yes, it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And I found I had to eat a lot of cheesecake to get one of them. And there's a big cheesecake. Oh. And then the next Monday would come ding dong, here comes the other cheesecake. Well, sure enough.
Now this sounds like heaven that turns into hell. It's like the devil. He's like, you like cheesecake, do you? We have more, and we have devils to insert it into you, and we don't care how.
And she would also, she would make a chocolate cheesecake and a peanut butter cheesecake.
Mix it up, yeah.
Yeah, no, different flavors and things like that, but they're always gigantic. And I didn't really, have you read shredded myth or anything like that. So I would eat a full cheesecake a week. Well, sure enough, after 6 months, I was having...
6 months?
Yeah, I know.
Wait. Okay, stop the story right there. You waited to check in on yourself till 6 months.
Was I going to cancel an order from this nice woman? I mean, how am I going to cancel this order?
You could donate it to charity. You could give it to homeless people.
It was also really delicious.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, but, lo and behold, after 6 months, wouldn't you check yourself out for...
I kind of popped up very good.
Yeah.
And so I finally got the courage to call her up and said, listen, I adore you.
My insurance company called.
Yeah, this has just got to stop. And she was sad. She was really sad, you know. And maybe you're right. I should have done it with cheesecake, sure, or something like that. But I put it...
But here's the funny thing, right? You want to help your friend succeed. And this is how people are irrational about money. Yeah. Because if you, I don't know, what's $20, $30 for the cheesecake?
Yeah, something like that.
But if you said, I'm going to send you $30 a week, don't send me a cheesecake, she'd be offended.
Oh, I think
even though she'd make more money for that because she wouldn't have to pay for the ingredients, right?
No, but the idea was to provide a demand for her as a chef, to believe in the thing that she made. That's why I placed the order.
Sure, yeah.
Just to kind of shore up her sense of confidence about who she was and what she was doing.
Wow.
And I love that she said. But it became a problem. So then...
Now, when you stopped, was it tough? Like your body got used to that much sugar and fat?
Yeah, and also I had to take the money I previously used for cheesecake and apply it to a gym membership.
Oh, right.
And I had to lose all that.
Right.
So
How much did you gain, do you know?
I'm not sure, but I mean, it was 3 or 4 inches around the waist.
Oh, wow.
Just like that, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, really happened. Bigger trousers, and you get in denial for a while. You're like, oh, well.
These have just been washed. Yeah. So naturally they're going to be a little snug.
I'm developing a preference for looser clothes.
Yeah. That's right. Right, my mod days are behind me. I don't need the pipe stand pants anymore. I'll just let it all hang out. Yeah, that's right.
It was the one time that I really puffed up in my life, and it was all because of that damn cheesecake.
Well, and good for you for losing it, because it's tougher to lose later in life, right?
Yeah. And so it was the, exercise time.
Yeah.
No, but this is some years ago. Now I'm better. I know better to do that. So now I just eat. No, I don't eat McDonald's all the time, I mean, it's like on the feet or something.
No, it's nice once in a while.
Oh, it's just the right time.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. As you say, it's stuff that's manufactured.
Oh, I mean, they experiment, until your tongue has an orgasm, they keep mixing the sauce, until you actually have an out-of-body experience, hopefully not viewing your own bloated corpse in the grave, but when you have an then okay, we're done. We reach maximum human satisfaction.
And these people, whenever I post these things, there's many people who get so upset, and they say things about McDonald's that are a little too extreme. I can see sort of, as you say, not eating all the time, or maybe just to being against it. But when people call it the most disgraceful, disgusting food on the planet, I mean, that's an implausible thing.
Well, I did a video talking about Justin Bieber, and the number of music hysterics that I tried listening to his music and it was like a cat attacking my ear and I couldn't, it's a song. Maybe you don't like it, but it's not like evil. It's not like possession. It's not like...
Right, there's a kind of hysteria.
It's complete hysteria. I'm so sorry. Mike, we just out of juice? But this idea that, the guy, there's a video of him on...
This movie is wonderful. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I know. I'd like to.
It's brilliant. It tracks his career from being a young kid. People just assume these people were manufactured by some sort of corporate or whatever.
No, I think he's...
he was an early YouTube star when he was a kid. I mean,
12 or 13, right?
Yeah. And he's got real talent. I mean, serious talent.
They say, well, he's not a musician. It's like...
Oh, that's not...
He's
breeze music.
No, and I see him playing piano with Carlos Santana in New York on New Year's Eve. Yeah. I mean, Carlos Santana is a real musician, and if you're doing a band with Carlos Santana, you are a musician as far as I'm concerned.
Musician. I recognize the type. I grew up in a music family. I watched this movie. I mean, I know this kid. Yeah. I know who he is. He's multi-talented, plays guitar.
And his shows are really, if you watch his live shows,
I'm sure
he is working hard. The dance moves, that is hard stuff to do.
That is hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, any musician on tour who's got nightly gigs like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Where and even the guitarist, but the dance moves and singing while you're dancing is really hard. Yeah. Breath control, and you have to be in tip-top shape. And he works hard.
In the movie, I forget what it's called. It's Believe.
I think it is. Yeah.
So they have him, and he's like, this is before his voice changed, so he's like 12 or something like this. They have him in a heart-shaped thing with a bench that he sits in and it raises up over the stage, and then floats out into the middle of the audience. So there are like 30,000 people here, and he's like in the middle and kind of lowering it, and he's playing guitar, and then he stops playing guitar and singing a cappella, sitting, like, I don't know, 200 feet above the crowd.
He has a glorious voice.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
He's moving around, and his voice is beautiful.
Yeah.
He doesn't make a single mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, that, and people put down that kind of talent. I mean, that's an inconceivable level of personal mastery.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. And what they're getting to the point is, people attack Justin Bieber's music because they dislike it, but they try to use things like, well, he can't sing, he can't, he can't play instrument. One, yeah, he can, and yes, he can. It's one thing to address, his actions, his attitude, and, his disrespect. It's another thing just to, when someone does something wrong, to just attack everything they've ever done, isn't really justified. And that's the thing, everybody makes mistakes. Doesn't mean everything they do is a mistake. You've made mistakes. Not everything you do is a mistake. And people fail to, realize that. They don't like something someone did, so everything they did is bad and wrong. And, those are real closed-minded people usually, not, intellectual thinkers or, I'm not saying that they're not intelligent at all. They might be intelligent, but they're so closed-minded that they can't look at possibilities outside a certain realm. And, you don't have to. That's your right to be that way. I just think that it affects your ability to explore and see other possibilities that are out there. That doesn't mean you have to give up your belief. It's just willing to look at the other side and other beliefs to understand maybe the world a little bit differently. Understand your community a little bit differently. Understand the country or nation or empire, whatever you want to call it, dictatorship you live in. Even though America has its extreme problems, we are fortunate to be able to seek out a lot of information and educate ourselves. And there's a lot of countries that they don't have that ability. There's a lot of places that don't have internet. And they don't have books, except for the books that might teach them a certain way and only one way. There's not the large expanse of information in other countries, in other dictatorships, in other empires, in other nations. We do have something that is valuable, and that's the ability to educate ourselves and have so many sources of information to really try to come to an educated, outlook on an issue or, acknowledgement of issues. And that's what will create a better society. So, it's one of those things that, people have the right to be completely dumb, I think. If people don't even want to learn how to count change or they just don't care, that would be your right. But I think there's a lot more ambition in the human race. I think that there's a lot more humanity than a lot of people want to lead on. There's a lot of things in our society that lead people to publicly be a certain way. But if circumstances were changed, that would go by the wayside. Because, well, what keeps things in this circumstance where people fight each other? Oh, divide and conquer. And we as a society and really as a race around the world, that is probably the worst thing out there that keeps nations and the world and the human race so in disarray and without true freedom, true liberty, is divide and conquer. We've been divided and conquered. And that's what allows the few people that basically hold a world power to stay in power. Because, well, they understood what divide and conquer was. They came together to not be divided and conquered, to be able to control the world by controlling nations' currencies, their natural resources, and their population through man-made laws instead of natural law. Men drew borders when there was communities where a border didn't exist before that were divided and conquered because of a border. And even though I understand why people want borders, well, we gotta, keep the bad people out. But when the bad people are already inside the border and they're the ones in charge, understand what that border will be used for. It'll be used to hold you in. Do you see Americans running for the American border though? Nope. But they got the barbed wire pointed in the right direction in case they do. In a lot of places on the border, they've got it both ways. And that's not done on accident. I don't think so. I have one from We Are Change, Life Lessons from New York City Subway.
This is Luke Radowski of WeAreChange.org, and living here in New York City, I learned to live my life on the New York City subway. I slept on the subway, I meditated, I did my homework, I did the majority of the greatest work here, and to me, there's so many lessons, there's so many things to experience on the subway. Sometimes it's crowded, it's ugly, it's dirty, it's filled with people and filled with BO, but there's also times when it's filled with beautiful things, like important life lessons to learn. I'm really sorry to bother you today. My name is Luke. I'm going around the subway talking to people about life. We're wondering if we could ask you one question on camera. Just give me 1 second. Just 1 second. You don't even have to say nothing on camera. I know you can hear me. I know. Can you help me? Yeah, you can hear me because you just had a conversation with me. Can you help me pick somebody else randomly? If you don't want to do an interview, can you help me pick someone randomly in the train here? Just tell me what they're wearing. I'll go up to them and I'll leave you alone. I won't leave you alone unless you do that. Little hoodie. Thank you. Appreciate that. Just one question.
I don't.
Okay. Totally respect that. The main question we're asking is, what is the most important lesson you learned throughout your unique experience in life?
Wow, that's a big question. That's a big question. I guess, never look back.
Oh, that's easy. That you have to learn to live your purpose, and when you learn to live your purpose, you have to help someone else with your purpose. It's all about helping the other.
So what we're doing after each interview is asking the person if they could help us select the next person we interview.
Oh, on the train?
Yes.
Oh. Maybe the guy at the end.
All the way in?
Yeah,
okay.
maybe.
Beautiful. Thank you again. So sorry to bother you. I know you don't want to be bothered. We're just going around the subway talking to people about life. If you don't want to be a part of it, you don't have to be, but it's just a quick interview with one question. We're asking people the question of, what is the most important life lesson you have learned? You can take your time.
You can't really trust nobody.
Why do you say that?
Well, in my life, it's just been a lot of mixed friends with me. So, like, I've just learned, like, I can't trust nobody. I'm out here by myself. So, at the end of the day, I came by myself and leave by myself. I might as well not rely on nobody else but myself. Like, that's how I see it at the end of the day. That's why I'm sitting by myself right now with nobody, man. At the end of the day.
Yeah. We understand that. We appreciate your life lesson. You don't have to always be by yourself, though. This is the company that we work for. It's called We Are Change.
Treat everybody like you want to be treated. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's what we forget. Everybody worried about having everything and getting everything, but they forget that it's people that don't have it. So that's one thing I learned. Like, you treat somebody like you want to be treated, because you never know when you get down and out. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to always be up. You're not going to always have. You might lose your job tomorrow. Who knows? Yeah. But give somebody to remember how you treated them. And when you're down, they'll look out.
Golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated.
Be kind to everyone.
And try to repay more than you get at any given day in the littlest way. The nicer you are, the happier you'll be.
It's better to be generous than selfish.
Appreciate every day. Got back from volunteering in Africa, and life didn't come and go real quick, and literally live every day like it's the last. It's people know, like, say that and think that, but you literally have to act and do it.
Your whole
That's
life.
really complex.
It is.
To learn as much as I can.
Education is the most powerful thing that anybody can possibly get, and traveling and seeing how new people live, because in traveling and education is the power to life.
What goes around comes around.
Karma. Do good and good will come back to you.
Staying humble. I believe in karma. So one quote that I stay by that I heard from Kimbo Slice a long time ago is, no matter how you get off the earth, you always got to come back down for water. So, that always stuck with me. So I always, try to stay level-headed.
Fake it till you make it. Yeah, because if you don't believe and if you don't, try to make it happen the way you want to, whether or not you have any business actually doing it, if you don't do it yourself, you don't try to make it happen, you never will.
My life lesson that I've learned that's the most important thing to me is patience.
I have also learned not to wait for things to come around. Just keep putting the good stuff out, and don't necessarily wait for it to come back at you. Just know that it will eventually.
Life lesson, being responsible, yeah. Because I was homeless, and then I started working, and I got an apartment. And I learned the lesson by going to jail. I committed crimes before, and I went to jail. And I said, well, I gotta stay out and be responsible.
You should think few times before you do something.
Not to drink.
I'd say everything in moderation.
To stick up for yourself and not let people walk all over you. You need to stand up for yourself always, whether it's walking in the street, someone taking advantage of you. Just stick up for yourself.
Family is everything.
That I don't think we know as much as we think we know.
Well, every day when I do something nice for somebody, on those days, those are my good days. And when I'm being shy or keeping to myself and I'm not helping anybody but myself, those are not my best days.
Kids are awesome. Is my life lesson.
Beautiful. Yeah, I have kids of my own now. I have grandchildren. So just watching some of the mistakes I've made, I'm trying to make sure that they don't make the same mistakes over the mistakes that I've made in my past. So it's best that I pass on what I've learned from my past experiences.
There are so many things that you may regret, so just grab the moment.
Freedom, I suppose it means just being.
Well, hopefully some of inspiration was found in maybe some of those life lessons that got on the New York City subway. So it was pretty interesting, and a lot of, I think, good attitudes when you really get down to humanity. There's really a lot of good people out there, and we are divided and conquered through arbitrary things, and it's really that keeps us enslaved. Okay, I got some more news here for you. Let it load here. And this one is coming from FT.com. Says Russian companies withdraw billions from West, say Moscow bankers. Russian companies are pulling billions out of Western banks, fearful that any U.S. sanctions over the Crimean crisis could lead to an asset freeze, according to bankers in Moscow. Cyberbank and VTB, Russia's giant, partly state-owned banks, are well as industrial companies such as Energy Group, Lukoil, are among those repatriating cash from Western banks, and with operations in the U.S. VTB also has canceled a planned U.S. investor summit next month, according to bankers. And I think I've seen another article, something about China looking to basically take and start replacing the American dollar in their major trading. Let me see if I can find where that came from. Hopefully I saved it here. Probably not though. I'm not seeing it here, but I swear I did see it. I don't want to tell you that's a guarantee or nothing unless I can give you the source. I'm not seeing it right off hand. But, if the U.S. thinks sanctions will help them in their, exchange with Russia, I think that would probably be the opposite. I think what would happen is you have Russia and China that work pretty close together. They already want to take down the U.S. dollar. I think they have enough pull that with China they could really hurt the U.S. economy. right now the U.S. economy is really reliant on Chinese goods. All China really would have to do is just raise the price on their exports. You think about it, well, we don't have the factories anymore like we used to. We don't like the U.S. dollar. Russia has a lot of oil, natural gas that they could get up off the U.S. dollar. China has the exports that the U.S. relies on. I could see something backfiring. And if you thought the U.S. trying to gain control of the internet was bad, what's coming out of the Washington Post is a little bit scarier. Because we already know what the United Nations would like to do with the internet. We already know where they're headed with it. This coming out of the Washington Post, U.S. aims to give up control over internet administration. U.S. officials announced plans Friday to relinquish federal government control over the administration of the internet, a move likely to please international critics but alarm some business leaders and others who rely on smooth functioning of the web. Pressure to let go of the final vestiges of U.S. authority over the system of web addresses and domain names that organize the internet has been building for more than a decade and was supercharged by the backlash to revelations about NSA surveillance last year. The timing is right to start the transition process, said Lawrence E. Strickling, Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Communications and Information. We look to forward it to ICANN, convening stakeholders across the global internet community to craft an appropriate transition plan. The practical consequences of the decision were not immediately clear, but it could elevate rising global complaints at the United States, or alleviate rising global complaints that the United States essentially controls the web and takes advantage of its oversight role to help spy on the rest of the world. U.S. officials set strict conditions and an intermediate timeline for the transition from federal government authority, says the new oversight body, must be created and win the trust of crucial stakeholders around the world, officials said. An international meeting to discuss the future of the internet is scheduled for March 24th in Singapore. The announcement essentially ruled out the possibility that the United Nations would take over the U.S. role, something many nations have advocated and U.S. officials have long opposed. Now, you see a lot of these groups and organizations working with the United Nations. They're considered world organizations, and they like to operate with the United Nations. Because, well, if you have a global force, what's better to do your bidding? The looming change, if successfully executed, would end or at least dramatically alter the long-running contract between the U.S. Commerce Department and the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, a California-based nonprofit group that goes by the acronym ICANN. That contract is due to expire next year, but could be extended if the transition plan is not complete. I welcome the beginning of this transition process that you have outlined. The global community will be included in full, said Fadi Chihad, president of ICANN. Rumors of the U.S. government would step out of its oversight rules sparked concerns among those who long have maintained that ICANN did not do enough to protect security online. To set ICANN so-called free, it is a very major step that should be done with careful oversight. Now, I have the problem with this one group having control. To have any group have control over the internet, you're setting it up for doom. Just because the government hasn't been able to get cybersecurity control passed like they want to in the government and get all the stuff locked down, doesn't mean this non-profit group that I'm sure has a lot of revenue coming in is able to do, because, well, now they're a private group and they have control. A lot of the censorship that they can't get past, they can't get lobbied passed through and signed into law. Well, you put it in a private group's hand, it'd be a lot easier, wouldn't it? So I definitely have a small problem. Definitely when it's a, world type group, that any type of private group that's world just doesn't ring good for me. I think the internet should not have a control system. I think it should be pretty open. So, there's ways to do it, but, like I said earlier in the broadcast, we have to really start looking at the alternatives. Creating the internet we want, kind of like Zuckerberg said, but not what he wants, but what the people want. Something that is not being censored. Well, at least, people that believe in liberty and truth and freedom might, want the ability for our groups and other groups, even, people we disagree with, not to be censored. Because if all the information is out there and the facts are out there, people will find them if they're searching for them. And we have to try to be better influences, better advocates for our message. Because sometimes we don't get it across the way we want. And it's a forever learning type process. Just refining your message. Not changing your beliefs, not changing who you are, but just communicating better. That's a major key. It's a key when you go to get a job. You have to be able to communicate good. If you are a business owner, to get customers, you understand the power of communication. Salespeople, especially, the power of communication. And some people do it by lying and some people do it by proving it. And that's, I think, in a free market, that's where the truly, strong people stand out. Cause if it's exposed that they were screwing you over, well, they're not going to stay open too long, are they? The company can't stay open too long if they're exposed as being corrupt. In a free market, that doesn't happen. We have a market that's really heavily regulated by lobbyists that pit the politicians in power by basically, paying for all their campaign expenses. You have it where oh, well, I scratched your belly, I helped you get where you are, you helped me out, and we'll be good, and heavy regulations that don't ever hurt this big business, like the politicians always try to tell you, oh, this will stop their corruption. What it does is it always hurts the small guy and props up the big guy. Big guy will pay a fine. Oh, $5,000 for accidentally doing that. Oh, $1 million for accidentally doing that. That's okay because I just made another bill. Made another billion off of, that law that got passed. I can afford to pay the $1 million a year, so that's okay. I can pay that fine. But guess what? Now no one else can compete with me. That doesn't exist in free markets. Why? Because once it's exposed, they don't pay a fine. People withdraw their services. Or they make the company pay for it and ensure them that it's not going to happen again by making the improvements that need to be made to either product or service. A lot of people go, well, how can we have a free market with all the corruption? Well, it starts with the regulations, first off. When we're regulated the way we are, you might be able to create a business, but it's really, really hard to create a big business because you have to be as corrupt as them. And many good people are not as corrupt as they are. So they're not willing to take those steps. So that's where kind of the good people might get left behind. But, I think internet's helped that a lot. Again, another reason why internet's so important. Because it's allowed people to operate some type of business and work for themselves and create something that another person wants. And a lot of what they couldn't do without so many permits and everything to get the building that they need, they're able to do online. And it's cheaper, and even things like YouTube, even though it's a pain in the butt anymore, but things like YouTube where you're able to do that. You can create videos if you're a band again, do videos. I really think there's so much opportunity that there's a lot of people that don't understand what's out there, what their capabilities might even be. There's so many people with passions that they can't see that as, well, maybe I could make money off of that. Maybe I can provide a service or a product that people want that's related to my passion. I have a lot of passions, and one of my passions was automotive. I have a passion for automotive. Couldn't do it as a job. Part of it's the shops I had to work for, and a couple of owners that had some dirty dealings that came to the surface, and I just couldn't do it. And another thing was the constantly having to buy expensive tools, and when the economy gets bad and people are doing the minimum to their vehicles, it's hard to pay for those, $5,000 tools, specialty equipment to work on the newer cars that come out. It tends to hurt your pocketbook instead of helping it. So, through those dealings, I didn't have enough of a passion to make it a career. I had enough of a passion to, I'll do my own work and If I had the free time, I would like to maybe do a project car, but I didn't have that great of a passion. And really, I didn't have, even though I wanted to do automotive at the beginning, doing stuff like this broadcast. It's not something I wanted to do, but I had a passion for the truth, liberty, and freedom, and it's something that I just found myself into, and it kept growing for me. You know, it's something that I've been a part of on, you know, social media and the internet, and, you know, groups out there since 07, 06, 08, right in that area. And, 06 is when I, you know, started working with a couple groups, and then by 08, I was working with a lot of groups and helping them, definitely with social media, and it just kept growing. And, you know, it's nothing that I really wanted to do and spend this much time on, but because I have such a passion for seeking out truth and promoting liberty and understanding liberty myself, having that deeper understanding of it, that deeper philosophy of freedom and liberty, you know, it's grown me from that constitutionalist into looking at myself as libertarian ideology, volunteerist ideology, or volunteerism ideology, but, you know, really an independent at the most, you know, thinker, a sovereign individual. I am me. I might share beliefs that others share on certain subjects and not others, and I don't 100% agree with anyone out there. It's basically an impossible thing to do, to agree with every person or anybody out there. You're always going to find something you disagree on with. And understanding that really is easier for you to understand, divide and conquer, how it's so easily done. Because there's always something that you'll disagree with someone on, and they will play that. And if you don't realize it and you don't catch that, people are like, yeah, I hate those liberals. I don't hate liberals. I disagree with them and don't think that their ideology has any premise in reality. But I don't hate them. I might hate actions that they take, but I don't hate them. That's too much to hate a person. My focus is on liberty and on truth and on facts and education, and a lot of it's self-education. You're never going to learn anything unless you do it by yourself. Because if you go and get taught it by someone, you're getting taught their style, their belief, their ideology, or, you know, their way of doing something. But when you self-educate and you're not stuck to one, you know, tunnel vision on a way to look at a subject or an issue, and you're able to reach out in every direction and pull information from every source you possibly can find, even the most ridiculous on both sides. Someone that is seeking truth will find it a lot easier because they're willing to look at everything. And they can tell what's false. Do you think other people are stupid and you're the only smart one that can detect fake stuff and real stuff? No, you might have a different outlook. You might have a different ideology. But the facts will always be the facts. So you might come to a different conclusion based on your ideology. What you have to focus on is, what are the facts? And what's your ideology? Defeat the divide and conquer. And then we can defeat the tyranny. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, and stay tuned for all the great broadcasts here on UCY. It was Anti-Tyranny News Radio. Take care. Have a great weekend.